Geeta Undare is a domestic help that lives in Mumbai's Chakala area. She has high hopes for a 13-year-old daughter and she works hard every day, barely saving any money after food and household expenses to make sure that her daughter gets the best education. Geeta's only goal in life is to make sure that her daughter does not go through the hardships of life like she had to. But one day, Geeta is contacted by a salesperson from an online learning platform, Byjus. The salesman met her daughter and asked her a bunch of difficult questions that even an average student in her class could not answer. Following this, the salesman told Geeta that her daughter was no good, and if she did not sign her up for Byju's personalized coaching, she will fall behind. But Geeta could not get that coaching even if she wanted to. The course fee was Rs 33,000, an unimaginable amount for a domestic help living in Mumbai. However, Geeta was scared by the salesperson who said that she will be the person responsible for destroying her daughter's future. He also told her that she could get a refund within the trial period if she was not satisfied with the coaching. After which, Geeta took a loan and paid the fee of Rs 33,000. But as soon as she got her daughter enrolled in the course, she realized what had just happened. She had been scared into buying a course that her daughter did not need and moreover she could not afford. So she tried calling the Byju salesperson to get a refund as promised, but nobody is answering her calls. And this is a true story showing how Byjus, once the most valuable startup in India, is under fire for unfair sales practices along with a lot of other difficulties. Byjus' biggest investor and shareholder, Prosus, had its valuation cut from $22 billion to $5.1 billion earlier this year, a drop of more than 75%. The Byju's office in Bengaluru was raided by the Enforcement Directorate for alleged irregularities in April 2023. In May, Byju's was dragged into court by its lenders with a case in the US with the reports of defaulting payments on loans. And in the very next month in June, Byju's missed another payment of Rs 40 million. Currently, the situation is so bad that Byju's, a company which once had a valuation of over $22 billion or 187,000 crore rupees, had to vacate their office in Bengaluru to save a measly 3 crore rupees in rent per month. But let's back up and see how exactly Byju's finds itself in this situation. Byju's was founded by Byju Ravindran, a mechanical engineer who tried his hand at the CAT exam in 2003, scoring in the 100th percentile not once but twice. Following this, in 2007, he started providing coaching classes, and in 2015, he launched the Byju's app, which was extremely popular. Now, this was also when the edtech sector had started getting investors' attention and money started pouring in. By 2018, Byju's had become a unicorn with a valuation of over $1 billion. And this was when the heavens smiled on the edtech sector as a whole and Byju's in particular. COVID was here. Everything suddenly went online and this was a blessing for the edtech sector. These online learning platforms suddenly saw a surge of users that was unprecedented. And this was similar to how Paytm had got a boost during demonetization, when the majority of the cash was suddenly drained out of circulation and people were left with no choice than to use digital payments. And this gave the payment platforms like Paytm, PhonePe and UPI in general a push that has seen them dominate the payment system of India. So while COVID almost killed companies like Oyo and Make My Trip, it was a blessing in disguise for companies like Byju's and Big Basket. The Byju's app skyrocketed with more than 150 million downloads by July 2022. The valuation of Byju's grew from about $1 billion in 2018 to $22 billion by March 2022, making it the most valuable startup in India, even surpassing Paytm briefly. And Byju's was not alone here. There were 6 other edtech startups that were a unicorn by 2022, including the likes of Unacademy, Upgrad, and Vedantu. But 2022 was also the year when cracks started appearing in Byju's empire. In July 2022, Byju's was suspiciously late in announcing the audited financial statements for the last 2 years. After pressure from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Byju's finally announced its audited results in September 2022. And they were extremely concerning. So in 2019, Byju's net revenue was 1360 crores, while the net loss was Rs 8.8 crores. In 2020, Byju's net revenue more than doubled to Rs 2700 crores, while the net loss increased by almost 30 times to rupees 250 crores. However, just 1 year later in 2021, Byjus' revenue actually dropped to rupees 2400 crores, while the net loss ballooned to rupees 4500 crores, a meteoric rise from last year's figure of rupees 250 crores, and almost double the revenue itself for the entire year. And Byjus has been in trouble ever since, with its investors dropping their valuations, lenders demanding their money, and consumers complaining of unfair and predatory practices like the story of Geeta Undare. But what exactly went wrong here? How did Byjus manage to lose track financially in just 1 year? Well, the crisis was actually in the making much before 2022 itself. At the peak of the edtech boom, Byjus was flush with money, and in a bid to expand, it went on an acquisition spree. Beginning from July 2020, when it acquired White Hat Junior, a coding learning platform for kids, for $300 million, then Akash in April 2021 for $1 billion, and several others, spending over $2.5 billion on acquisitions alone by 2021. The aim here was to expand quickly by acquiring companies that were already doing good. But this move actually backfired. In fact, of the total loss of rupees 4,500 crores in 2021, almost 27% was due to White Hat Junior. And acquisitions was not the only place where Byjus was overspending. In its bid for aggressive marketing and expansion, Byjus started overspending on sponsorships as well, sponsoring the Indian cricket team for millions of dollars, while also sponsoring the FIFA World Cup itself for about $40 million. Not just this, but it hired the likes of Shah Rukh Khan and Lionel Messi to be its brand ambassadors as well. Overall, Byjus spent roughly rupees 2,000 crores on marketing, which was 32% of their total expenses. To give you a comparison, Byjus spent 3 times more than Unacademy, Vedantu and Upgrad combined. Now the key point to know here is that the reason that Byjus was spending so aggressively was that it expected the growth that it saw during COVID to continue. However, what happened was quite the opposite. As COVID went down, things started opening up once again and people went back to offline classrooms. So instead of growth, Byjus was seeing a decline in numbers and revenue. And this was not the only factor affecting their revenues and numbers. They were also calculating their revenue incorrectly. Let's say that Byjus sells a 4-year course to a 9th class student this year for 1 lakh rupees. The student is allowed to pay the fees in 4 installments, paying rupees 25,000 every single year. So technically, Byjus' revenue from this sale for this year would be rupees 25,000 only. However, Byjus was counting the entire amount of rupees 1 lakh as sales of this year, even though it would be receiving the amount over the next 3 years. Now you would say, what is wrong with this? They have made the sale, so eventually they will get the money. But that is not the case. N number of things can happen which can result in Byjus not getting that money, including cancellations and refunds, or simply a failure by the customer to pay the next installment. So speaking from a technical perspective, this was not the right way to calculate their revenue. And investors were actually being misled about the actual performance of Byjus. This was also why Deloitte resigned as Byjus' auditor, when they claimed in an official statement that there was a delay from Byjus in sharing their financials even after several requests. So Byjus has been trying desperately to inflate its revenues, but all its attempts are failing. And the brunt of this is being taken by the employees. Several reports have come out that say that Byjus' work culture is extremely toxic, where a video also recently went viral that showed a Byjus employee complaining about the pressure and lack of incentives at the company. And on the other hand, customers are complaining of Byjus' predatory practices, where salesmen force people to buy these courses by intimidating parents, telling them that their kids are no good and will be left behind. There have also been reports of salesmen pitching in and paying each other, registering fake sales in the system just to meet the targets and save their jobs. And through all of this, Byjus has continued layoffs in a bid to bring down its expenses. And this is how Byjus' misery has actually been in the making for quite some time now. But the current crisis has actually precipitated because of one single action of Byjus. So by now, it must be clear that Byjus has been spending more money than it has been able to generate. And to pay its bills, Byjus needed cash. Now when any private company wants money, it has two options: raise it as equity or as debt. In equity, you provide a certain percentage of your company to someone, usually a VC, who in turn gives you money that you do not need to return. In debt, as you may already know, you are basically borrowing the money that you will return with interest. So this time, instead of raising cash from investors, Byjus decided to take a debt. And in November 2021, Byjus raised $1.2 billion via a term loan from international lenders. Now Byjus got this debt in the form of Term Loan B or TLB. Unlike your usual loan where you pay installments throughout the tenure of the loan, in a TLB you can pay a large amount at the end of the loan period and pay only a minor amount throughout the tenure. And the usual tenure ranges from 5 to 7 years. So you essentially get a lot of money without any interest or liability for several years, and you can pay the amount together with interest at the end of the loan period. However, the only condition is that you need to maintain a certainty of future cash flow to repay the loan. So if I am lending you money via Term Loan B, you need to assure me that you are not going bankrupt before the end of the tenure. And when the lenders of this TLB to Byju saw their financial statements and the 17 months delay in releasing those statements, they got wary of the cash flow of Byju and started demanding an immediate payment of $200 million. Now Byju was obviously already cash strapped, and this sudden demand of such a huge amount has been really problematic for them. Things got messed up with the lenders suing Byju for defaulting the payments, and Byju in turn suing the lenders themselves, saying that this acceleration of loan payments was a predatory move against the company. As of today, the battle between the lenders and Byju over this TLB still continues, with negotiations going on for settling the repayment of the loan. But the damage has already been done. You simply do not take one of the largest TLBs from an overseas lender and then default on the payment as well as sue the lender in court. This takes away your financial credibility, ruining the trust of not just the existing investors, but future investors and lenders as well. And this is how Byju finds itself in the current situation. Its revenues are dropping, there is a funding winter going on, so it cannot get new funds, and it immediately has to repay a large amount that it does not have. Other than employees as well as customers complaining about the way that the company itself functions. And a lot of this can actually be attributed to the unchecked flow of money by VCs in the Indian startup ecosystem. Burning money is never sustainable in the long run, but this continuous flow of money meant that the startups are spending beyond their means, always relying on the next round of funding. But eventually there is going to be no next round, and that eventuality is now actually here. Startup funding in India has dropped 75% from last year. In 2022, 2,400 startups closed in India, up from 1,000 startups in 2021. And startups as well as investors are realizing that this cash burn in the pursuit of maximizing market share or revenue is not really sustainable if you are not aiming for profitability. Now at this point, you might say that both the founders of these startups as well as the investors are extremely wealthy. So why should you care about it? Well, because eventually we, the general public, are the ones who are going to bear this loss as well. You see, the eventual goal of these investors is to get a buyout. They want to sell their share of the company at a much higher price than they bought them for. And the way that these startups work is they keep raising money from one funding round to the next, Series A, Series B, and so on, until eventually they go public with an IPO. And all of these losses are actually dumped onto us, the general public. Take the example of Paytm. When Paytm went for their IPO or initial public offering of their shares in November 2021, the asking price was Rs 2150 per share. So there were people who purchased these shares and collectively gave Rs 18,300 crores to Paytm and its early investors. And the result? Paytm opened on the stock exchange for less than 1600 rupees per share, and it continued to fall in the days ahead. And right now, as of the time of recording this video, it was trading for Rs 800 per share, down from Rs 2150 of the IPO price. So about 11,500 crores of wealth was wiped off from the pockets of ordinary investors, most of which are people like you and me. And the reason? Paytm was not profitable. As a commercial company, you cannot survive unless you're making a profit, and the market knows that. So eventually, you are priced according to your worth. And with zero profits, a single Paytm share is definitely not worth rupees 2150. And as a company, I have nothing against Paytm or their business model, and they may be profitable eventually. But that does not change the fact that people are losing their money right now. The same thing happened with Zomato, and it was also going to happen with Mamaearth, another modern day startup that was going to IPO to raise rupees 2900 crores at a valuation of rupees 24,000 crores. The revenue of Mamaearth was about rupees 1000 crores, and the profit was only rupees 20 crores. That market cap is a revenue multiple of 24x and a profit multiple of 1200x. Extremely high for any company, no matter what the industry is. In fact, in India, only 17 unicorn startups are profitable out of 80, which tells you exactly why investors have now realized the importance of profitability and stopped pumping money into whatever is trending right now. Hence the funding midterm. Thankfully, there are companies like Zerodha, FirstCry and BillDesk that are unicorns and actually running sustainable, profitable businesses. And I hope other startups can follow the same path, including Byjus, who is desperately trying to turn things around and become profitable. And that covers the story of Byjus so far. I hope you like this video. Please hit the like button below, as it is really helpful for me to grow my channel. If you made it so far, please subscribe to my channel as well, and I promise to bring you more intriguing videos in the future. Let me know in the comments which video you want me to cover next. Until then, goodbye.